Band. Thank you very much, Marvin Thompson, our bandmaster. Ladies and gentlemen, I invite you to remain standing for the playing of the national anthem of Jamaica. Ladies and gentlemen, you may be seated. The Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Honorable Desmond Mackenzie, Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, Dr. Maurice Guy, Member of Parliament, St. Mary Central, and Mr. Robert Montague, Member of Parliament, St. Mary Western. Your Worship, the Mayor, Councillor Richard Query, Mayor of Port Maria, and Chairman of the St. Mary Municipal Corporation. The Honorable Errol Johnson, Custos Rotolorum for the Parish of St. Mary. Mr. Omar Sweeney, Managing Director, Jamaica Social Investment Fund. Members of staff of the Jamaica Social Investment Fund. Board of Directors of the Jamaica Fire Brigade and Commissioner of the Jamaica Fire Brigade, Mr. Stuart Beckford. Mrs. Julianne Davis Buckle, Assistant Commissioner, Era 2 Jamaica Fire Brigade, and Mr. Gary Swaby, Chaplain and Senior Superintendent of the JFB. Other distinguished members of the Jamaica Fire Brigade and firefighters present here this morning. Ms. Ethelyn Douglas, CEO for the St. Mary Municipal Corporation, councillors of the St. Mary Municipal Corporation. Mr. Raymond McIntyre, Managing Director, APEC Consultants Limited, and your staff, sir. Mr. Alfonso Reynolds, Managing Director, Marshall Construction Limited. Members of the media, members of the community, and all persons present this morning, our specially invited guests. A very special good day to you. I want to welcome you to the official handing over ceremony of this brand new fire station for the town of Port Maria. This represents the third of 3 stations built under the DVRP project, Disaster Vulnerability Reduction Project. Before I go any further, let us invite the chaplain, Mr. Gary Swaby, to open in prayers for us.
We invite the audience to stand and eyes closed, heads bow as we talk to the Almighty. Loving God and our Father in heaven, we thank you, great God, for your love. We thank you for your kindness. We thank you for your blessings. We thank you, great God, for leadership. We thank you for good governance. We thank you, Father, for inspiration. And today, great God, we thank you for this beautiful building, this fire station that you have blessed us with. We pray, divine God, that you will continue to bless each and every one that is involved. We pray for the audience today, great God, that you will continue, great God, to be what you want us to be. Cleanse sin from our lives and help, great God, that when the trump shall sound and the book will be opened, that each one that is standing here will have that hope and that glorious appearing, great God, to hail you as our personal Savior from sin. We thank you, great God, for everything. We thank you for what you will continue to bless us with. When I pray, great God, that we utilize this facility, that you will help us to treat it as if it is our own home. Continue, great God, to watch over us. Continue to protect each of us. When all shall be said and done and you would have come, save us all, we pray, for Christ's sake.
Thank you very much, Mr. Swaby. Ladies and gentlemen, you will agree that time is far gone, and so in the interest of time, we will take the Mayor of Port Maria, then Mr. Omar Sweeney, Commissioner Beckford, and Dr. Guy in that order without me returning to the podium. I will return to the podium for the coming of my own minister. So in that order, ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Pierce Martin, the pleasure is mine today to welcome you all to the opening of the new Port Maria Fire Station. I'd like to first of all welcome the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica, the visionary leader, the builder, who under his stewardship this project has been completed. Let me also welcome the Honorable Desmond McKenzie, my minister the Minister of Local Government, who I am sure last year visited Port Maria on more than 15 occasions. And PM, it looked like I'm going to have to find a little place down here so Minister Mackenzie can get a house that he is more comfortable, so when he comes he can stay much longer. But welcome again, Minister. It is always a pleasure to have you here with us. Let me also welcome both members of Parliament, Dr. Guy, and my mentor, Bobby Montague, who has trained me and trained me well, I believe. Welcome to you both. Let me welcome the Honorable Costas as well. Let me welcome councillors of the St. Mary Municipal Corporation, and I must say, I cannot recall a function that we have had so many councillors of the St. Mary Municipal Corporation. I'm going to ask them all to stand. Remember, St. Mary has 13 councillors, at least 12. And if I do the count for me, it would probably all of us are here, or maybe just one councillor missing. You can sit. And we also have 2 councillors from St. Anne as well. But let me also welcome Mr. Omar Sweeney, somebody I have had good working relations with over the years, from when he was at JPS and now that he's at JSIF. And I must welcome Mr. Sweeney, who is doing a tremendous job, and his staff at JSIF. Let me also welcome our chairperson, PS Marsha Henry Martin, who she says when she retires, she will be living in St. Mary. So I'm trying to seek a piece of land for her so that she can come back to St. Mary to retire. Let me welcome Mr. Stuart Beckford. It's hard to welcome him to this fire station, but let me welcome you to Port Maria, sir. And to all your firefighters who are here present. And I must acknowledge, I saw some faces when I came in of some retired firefighters who I have not seen in a long time. Let me especially welcome them here as well. Let me just generally welcome the board of the Jamaica Fire Brigade. I see Superintendent Morgan Simpson. I see ACP Allen. There are so many persons here to welcome the President of the Chamber of Commerce. But we are all here today for this historic occasion. And it would be remiss of me not to mention how pleased I am. The firefighters have struggled over the years, from one house up the road to another house further up the road, and they still carried out their task with dignity. And finally, they have a home of their own. And I am indeed pleased, and I am sure all present are pleased. And we ask that you take care of this facility. There was a time in Port Maria and in St. Mary where we had 1.5 fire units. We now have 2 functioning units, one for Port Maria and one for Annata Bay. So this government is taking care of their firefighters and will continue to do so. Since the Most Honorable Andrew Holness has taken over as Prime Minister, Port Maria has benefited tremendously. We now have a new fire station. We have a brand new market in Port Maria. We will soon have a brand new police station, and not only the station for Port Maria, but the Area 2 headquarters. So things are happening for Port Maria and will continue to do so. So indeed, let me welcome you all here today, and I know we will have a wonderful function. And when the Prime Minister leaves here, he will be handing over the keys to an indigent house for a person in Port Maria as well. So let me once again welcome you all, and please do enjoy the rest of today's proceedings.
Thank you. Good morning. number of persons here. Most Honorable Prime Minister Andrew Holness, Minister of Local Government and Rural Development Desmond McKenzie, to the Member of Parliament Dr. Maurice Guy, to Mr. Robert Montague, Member of Parliament for St. Mary West, Your Worship the Mayor Richard Creary, to the Honorable Brigadier Earl Johnson, Custos Rotolorum. I recognize as well Mr. Elad Shenfield from the World Bank, Mr. Stuart Beckford, Commissioner. I also have here the contractor and the consultant, Mr. Raymond McIntyre and Mr. Alfonso Reynolds, other distinguished members, councillors, members of the public, firefighters. Good morning. It's a great morning to be here. Certainly, when we have the opportunity to develop and deliver key national infrastructure for our citizens of Jamaica, it's always a proud moment for me. Today is a morning where I don't have to say much because my work is done. So I just wanted to say that we're here under the auspices of the Disaster Vulnerability Reduction Project. And this project, alone negotiated with the government of Jamaica and the World Bank, really seeks to shore up Jamaica's economic progress and protect, do environmental protection, improve disaster resilience, and enable us to withstand the shocks that come as a result of our vulnerability as a nation in the Caribbean. Now, within the DVRP, there are 8 critical pieces of infrastructure. Some you may have heard about: 3 fire stations, the one we opened in Montego Bay, the one we opened in Yalas, Prime Minister, of course, so present. And we also opened the coastal revetment in downtown Kingston. That's the 3rd one. There are also 2 additional drains in a vulnerable area in Old Harbour, in the Big Pond area. In the month here of January, we have upgraded the entire earthquake infrastructure at the University of the West Indies as a part of this project. And we will also complete upgrading and adaptation of the building code under this project. And finally, the Coastal Atlas, which actually is now measuring our resilience in 8 coastal towns around the country to inform future investments, will also be developed under this project. So there is a wider frame, a wider context of national imperatives. So while we're here this morning just opening one of those 8 pieces of critical infrastructure, it is really about improving Jamaica's disaster resilience. And so I'm proud to be here working in partnership with the Ministry of Local Government, who provided tremendous support in the development of what you see here today, the Fire Brigade also, and of course my own JSIF team working here in partnership for us to be able to come here this morning. And so the facility here today that we will open was built to the tune of $258 million. It is inclusive of all the requisite offices that you would need to host a fire station. It has dormitories for male and female. And most importantly, it will facilitate emergency management services. This is something that the Fire Brigade has been developing over the years, and now they have the capacity to deliver emergency management services here. The project itself will serve 48 communities in and around Port Maria, approximately 114,000 persons. And so please join me in applauding the team for bringing us here today. And I just look forward, I really look forward to continuing to see this to be a tremendous asset here in the town of Port Maria. Thank you.
Mrs. Marsha Henry Martin, Master of Ceremonies, and our Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Honorable Desmond McKenzie, Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, Dr. Maurice Guy, Member of Parliament, St. Mary Central, and of course, Mr. Robert Montague, Member of Parliament, St. Mary Western. Your Worship, the Mayor, Councillor Richard Creary, Mayor of Port Maria, the Honorable Errol Johnson, Custos Rotularium for the Parish of St. Mary, Mr. Omar Sweeney, Managing Director, Jamaica Social Investment Fund, members of staff of the Jamaica Social Investment Fund, board directors, and I would like to acknowledge especially Ms. Young, Director Young, and of course, Deputy Chairman Dr. Keith Amel, and Councillor Gordon Bailey, Director of the board. Deputy Commissioners Warren Malcolm and Kevin Orton, Assistant Commissioner Julian Davis Buckle, Assistant Commissioner for Area 2, the councillors of the St. Mary Municipal Corporations, of course, retirees. I would like to mention, if you would permit me, for a minute, Assistant Commissioner McIntosh, I see, and of course, Mr. Forrester. We have among the retirees 3 divisional heads who would have served this parish, maybe 4. I think Mr. McIntosh did serve as divisional head as well. I want to welcome you to this function especially. Members of the media, firefighters, senior officers, specially invited guests, good morning. Prime Minister, with your permission, sir, before I commence my brief remarks, I would like the audience here to stand as we pay respect to the memory of our firefighter who were lost in the parish of St. Anne on the 30th of September. A minute silent in honor of firefighter Dose. Thank you. I think by now the entire Jamaica would have been aware of the fact that we lost a member of staff under tragic circumstances on the 30th of November last year. A young firefighter full of potential and one who was committed to serve in his country as a firefighter. We want to at this time reach out to the family and to continue to support them whatever way we can and to express our deepest condolences on their loss. The funeral service for young firefighter Dose will be held on the 28th of this month at the Manning Teachers College Auditorium, commencing at 12. It is really an unfortunate incident and one which I don't want to comment on too much because it's not a police matter, but except to say that as firefighters, we are exposed on a daily basis to the dangers that lurk on our roads. I know the Prime Minister, as head of the National Road Council, and Dr. Lucian Jones would have been making efforts over the years to educate and to implore our drivers to use the roads wisely. Young firefighter Dose was killed doing what he loved best. This was a firefighter who was very committed to his job and no doubt would have spent maybe his working life working for the people of Jamaica, in service of the people of Jamaica. So I want to use this opportunity to urge our motorists, please, use our roads wisely, because the life you save could very well be your own. I know that this begins to sound like a cliche, but it's true. And there are too many families in this country that are mourning the loss of loved ones due to recklessness on the part of some of our drivers. While we struggle to come to grips with the loss of this firefighter and the circumstances under which he was killed, we are still grateful. It could have been 2 or 3 of them on that day. But not only that, 2 days before that, we had a truck that developed mechanical issues close to the border of Trelawney and St. Ann. And while the driver and a member of the crew came out to try and see what the problem was, and while they were under the truck trying to figure out what the issue was, a motor vehicle slammed into the back of that truck. And so if they were not under the truck and further to the front of the truck, they would have had some serious injuries or death. One firefighter sustained injuries and had to be had to sought medical attention and was given 5 days sick leave to recuperate. So these are the dangers as firefighters that we face on a daily basis. And a lot of it can be avoided if we only use the road properly. I'm going to ask motorists to desist from tailgating our fire trucks when we are responding to emergency. That is a reckless and dangerous action which can result in loss of life. This morning, I am extremely delighted to be here participating in the official opening of this brand new fire station. And I would like to acknowledge the tremendous work and sacrifice made and commitment shown by the men and women of this division, and in particular of the Port Maria fire station, who would have been moving from different locations since 2006, when the station just up the road from us fell into disrepair. The opening of this facility will no doubt lift the morale of our firefighters, as they will be working in an environment that will facilitate improved service delivery to the people of Port Maria and its environment. Ladies and gentlemen, over the years, this parish has seen tremendous growth, and with growth comes risk. And so the risk profile of the parish would have changed significantly over the last 10 years. And the Port Maria Fire Station is the main responding station in the parish. As you would have heard Mr. Sweeney said, approximately 114,000 persons live across the parish, occupying some 35,601 housing units. And so the Port Maria Fire Station serves approximately 80,000 of those residents, occupying approximately 70% of the 35,601 housing units. The communities that will be served by this fire station include Gale, Jeffreytown, Bonnygate, Lucky Hill, Windsor Castle, and so on. There are some 155 educational institutions across the parish, 7 hotels consisting of approximately 1,902 rooms, 1 penal institution, 23 historical sites, 3 chlorine storage plants, 2 hospitals with bed capacity of approximately 180, 5 nursing homes, and of course 1 infirmary, along with 11 service stations. All of these would have added to the life and property risk of the parish over the last 10 years. Over the last 5 years, the parish recorded 2,349 emergency calls, inclusive of structural, farmland, and bushfires, as well as motor vehicle accidents. The Port Maria Station responded to 1,696, or approximately 72% of these emergencies. Between January and December of this year, the division responded to 303 emergency calls, an increase of 38 or 14% when compared to 2021. 2004 or 67% of these calls were responded to from the Port Maria Fire Station. Ladies and gentlemen, in closing, I would like to thank those who would have worked tirelessly behind the scene to make this a reality. To these individuals, we owe a debt of gratitude. We want to assure you that your efforts will not be in vain, as we will take all reasonable steps to ensure the proper use and maintenance of this facility. Let me also use this opportunity to urge those who will be occupying this facility to ensure the station is kept in good condition at all times. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
Master of Ceremonies, Permanent Secretary, Mrs. Marsha Henry Martin, Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Your Worship the Mayor, Councillor Richard Creary, Honorable Minister Desmond McKenzie, Honorable Costas, colleague Member of Parliament, Mr. Robert Montague, Mr. Omar Sweeney, JSIF Managing Director, Commissioner of the Jamaica Fire Brigade, Commissioner Beckford, councillors, CEO of the St. Mary Municipal Corporation, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, citizens of Port Murray and surroundings, constituents and well-wishers, good afternoon. Today is a wonderful day for us here in Port Murray. And Prime Minister, when you mentioned to me in coming up that you'll be spending the day in Port Murray, I say to myself, I'll say to the citizens, it will be even better when, as Minister of Economic Growth and Job Creation with responsibility for roads, you'll come and look at the roads that we have in Port Murray and St. Mary as well to see what you can do. But thank you for being here and to welcome you all to this, because today is a day that we have been waiting for a very long time. And Minister, it speaks to what I'd like to term the continuation of projects from one administration to the other. Minister Montague, and I'm glad that you're here, because when you were Minister of State for local government in the office of the Prime Minister, you constructed a wall because the vision was there. Yes. Minister Ascot came along, and yes, Minister Mackenzie, JSIF was engaged at that particular time, but you finished the project, and I want to commend you and congratulate you for what you have done in bringing this to the people of Port Murray, but also to the hard-working men and women of the Jamaica Fire Brigade who have, over the years, suffered under very trying circumstances in terms of accommodation. They moved from beside Rectory Street, Main Street intersection. They moved up the road, as the mayor said, and further up the road. And now they're finally in a home that they can call their own, and with certain of the trappings of comfort that can be offered to them outside of responding to a fire. Because indeed they put their lives at risk for us ordinary citizens in this country. And I want to commend them for having the resilience over the years of being in the service, working under those adverse conditions, and finally seeing a home here today. Prime Minister, St. Mary is one of those parishes which we, over the years, have been trying to develop, and we are happy that the government has decided not only, Minister, with the market as was mentioned and the fire brigade, but other things to come. The mayor mentioned it about the new police station, and I see Superintendent here, and she's looking happy when it's mentioned, but I want to see it moving a little faster so that the police can also be comfortable. You have not been in the parish for a long time, Prime Minister, so there's a special welcome for you here today, right? I know Minister lives here, as the mayor said. He's trying to find a proper house for him, right? I don't know the circumstance, but I'll take it off mic just now. But the truth is, Prime Minister, if you come to St. Mary more, you will be encouraged to do more for this wonderful parish that we call home for us as citizens of St. Mary. Yes, ACP, I know you come from St. Mary too, or right on the border of St. Mary, St. Catherine, and St. Anne. But ladies and gentlemen, for the citizens of Port Murray, we're very grateful that this has happened today, and that we can feel a bit more comfortable in recognizing that those men and women who come to assist us when we have a fire have a place to rest when they go back after those fires. I'm very happy that the old folks, as I called them earlier on, are around the back, because they were the ones in the early days who were working even when the circumstances did not exist for them to enjoy it after a fire. Thank you for being here today. And thank you for the service that you have done to our people. And may you continue to work for Jamaica that all of us can be proud of, that we can retire here and retire minister in St. Mary as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And at this time, I would like to invite my own minister, the Honorable Desmond Mackenzie, Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, to give some brief remarks, after which we will have the playing of the JFB's band.
Thank you very much, Permanent Secretary. Most Honorable Prime Minister, His Worship the Mayor, my colleague, members of Parliament, MP Guy and former State Minister for Local Government, Bobby Montague, Costas, councillors, Deputy Chairman of the Board of the Jamaica Fire Brigade and directors of the Jamaica Fire Brigade, former commissioners and members of this great organization. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It's another occasion on which the tremendous work of this administration, led by the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister, is on full display. The construction and handing over of the Port Maria station is a testament to the commitment and the importance demonstrated by this administration in partnership for the building of important infrastructures across the country. This is not just a brand new fire station that will serve the people of Port Maria and the surrounding communities. It is the latest component of an unprecedented infrastructure of social protection and national asset management the government is building through the services provided by the Jamaica Fire Brigade. This important moment that we are living in right now did not come about by chance. This level of investment in fire equipment, fire trucks, fire stations, and the recruitment of new members in the Jamaica Fire Brigade reflect this administration's determination to increase the effectiveness of local government through modern firefighting prevention and fire response services. Since 2016, the greatest investment ever made by any government in the Jamaica Fire Brigade has been made. $7 billion has been spent on various components of the Jamaica Fire Brigade. The people of Port Maria, you're not just getting a brand new spanking fire station, but the 60 members of staff who will operate from this facility will have 2 trucks. The people of Port Antonio and the surrounding communities in St. Mary, in that section of the island, will benefit from some $70 million of upgrading work that is taking place now at the Anato Bay Fire Station in the parish. I have said it before, and it's bear repeating, because if you don't say it, I don't want Maurice to go away and say it. But I want to say it, that under this administration of Prime Minister Andrew Holness, every fire station in Jamaica have at least 1 functioning fire truck. Never before in our history. Prime Minister, last year alone, 189 new recruits graduated into the service of the GFB. This agency continued to be a beacon of reliability and credibility in the eyes of the Jamaican people. The government is providing the necessary institutional support to ensure that it makes a significant contribution to our national objective. However, I want to make it clear that the increase in the effectiveness of the GFB and the expansion of its footprint across the country is not to be interpreted as a substitute for community responsibility and personal responsibility to be set aside. The government is doing its part. The fire brigade is doing its part. Our citizens must do their part. The figures demonstrate that too many of us believe that it is the duty, that it is their duty to create a crisis for the Jamaica Fire Brigade to respond to. The greater personal responsibility is needed to achieve major sustainable reduction in fires. Over the period of 2022, the Jamaica Fire Brigade responded to 12,265 emergency calls, which included 4,336 emergency medical service calls. 1,746 persons in Jamaica lost their homes due to fire. The only heartening factor coming out of this, Prime Minister and colleagues, that we had 24 deaths less than the previous year, which saw 42 which saw 42 Jamaicans losing their lives through fire. So I appeal to persons to ensure, and the Commissioner spoke about the responsibility on our roads. Our firefighters responded using the jaws of death to extract persons from vehicles across the country. Jaw of life. I'm so sorry. Well, you know, Prime Minister says almost dead now with motor vehicle accidents. Jaw of life. And I want to echo that sentiment of the Commissioner. I say to the people of Jamaica, we need more personal responsibility. This is not just a plea from the government. It is a national requirement that we all need to ensure that we build our communities. The government, Prime Minister, is working. You have given me a job of work, and I am trying my best. Finally, a new and improved Black River Fire Station will be activated come March of this year, Prime Minister. We will commence the work on a brand new station. The procurement have started in Balaclava, in St. Elizabeth. Discussions will commence, Mayor, with the MC and the Jamaica Fire Brigade for signal lights to be installed at this location, and the similar thing will be done in Montego Bay and in St. Thomas. Today, I want to say a big word of thank you to JSF and Mr. Omar Sweeney and the team for an excellent job of work. I think Jamaica is proud of you, Mr. Sweeney, and your team. And I'm going to ask you to find more money, pressure the Prime Minister for more money so we can continue to build out and to make the Jamaica Fire Brigade one of the best organizations in Jamaica. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll now take the item, the Jamaica Fire Brigade Band, or a part thereof. I hope we picked up some of that, you know. There's a brown girl in the ring. Cha la 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 la. At this moment, we will welcome the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the Prime Minister.
Thank you, Master of Ceremony, Madam Permanent Secretary, Mrs. Marsha Henry Martin. Allow me to re-establish the protocols briefly, acknowledging your Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, the Honorable Mayor Desmond McKenzie, His Worshipful Mayor, Richard Prairie. Allow me also to acknowledge your Member of Parliament, Dr. Maurice Guy, the Custos Rotulorum for the parish, the Honorable Errol Johnson, the indefatigable former Minister of Transport and Mining and former State Minister, former Mayor and Councillor, but still Member of Parliament, Robert Bobby, larger than life Montague. Your Commissioner of the Jamaica Fire Brigade, Mr. Stuart Beckford, Mr. Omar Sweeney, the Managing Director of the Jamaica Social Investment Fund, specially invited guests. I want to point out that there are members of the board of the Jamaica Fire Brigade here. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, members of the media, it is indeed a good afternoon. And we are at the function in the afternoon because of me. So I thank you for your patience. I hope you got that, that apology. It is my distinct pleasure to join you today for the official opening of a well-needed, brand new fire station strategically located in the parish capital of St. Mary, Port Maria. The old fire station in Port Maria, as was said before, was a small, antiquated building, and it was closed in 2006. After the closure, the fire brigade in St. Mary operated from a rented premises. Can you imagine that? The fire brigade in a rented premises at various locations in the Port Maria area. Finally, in November of last year, the fire brigade moved into its new, permanent, modern home where we are today. It should be noted that there is a second fire station in the parish in Anato Bay in fairly good condition. And I'm sure that it is the intention of the ministry to do some upgrade. I will announce it later on. The St. Mary Division, Fire Division that is, includes 48 communities, including Port Maria, Anato Bay, Highgate, Gale, Orocabessa, Boscobel, with over 100,000 Jamaicans living in this division. And the division is part of Area 2, which comprises the division of Portland, St. Mary, St. Anne, and Trelawney. We should note that Area 2 is headed by the highest ranking female officer in the Jamaica Fire Brigade, Assistant Commissioner Julian Davis Buckle. Where is Assistant Commissioner? As was explained before, the new Port Maria Fire Station was made possible as a sub-project of the Disaster Vulnerability Reduction Project, which is implemented by the Jamaica Social Investment Fund, JSIF, and it is funded by a World Bank loan and in partnership with the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development. The DVR aims to bolster Jamaica's resilience against disaster and climate risks and improve our capacity to plan for, reduce, and manage risk and the effects of climate change. The total value of the investment for this new station is 258 million Jamaican dollars. It is a significant investment. The DVR project started in 2014 as Dr. Guy, your MP, was at pains to point out indirectly. And if it is one thing that you can be sure of with myself as your Prime Minister and the government I lead, is that we are not short-handed in giving credit where credit is due. The brain is not all in one head. And it is the collection of our mind and faculty that develops the country. And for me, it doesn't really matter where the idea originates. It is who gets it done. True word. So Morris, my strategy is always to look out for the best ideas. If it comes from the opposition, if it comes from within the government, if it comes from a citizen, if I'm listening on radio, good ideas. Because the brain is not in one head. So you now must be able to pool heads together with ideas and get it done. And oftentimes some of the things that I put into operation, I did not originate them. I hear people complaints, I hear their suggestions, I'm on radio listening or on social media or somebody writes me a note and I take it. But one thing I always do, as is my training, is that if you take someone's idea and you don't give credit, it is called plagiarism. So we don't plagiarize. There are some politicians who do that. They will just hear it, grab it and say, it's mine, it's mine. No. We give credit. So they forgive the diversion, but you pulled me in the direction. By the way, we have a very good relationship. And I will tell you that during the pandemic, Dr. Guy, who is the opposition spokesperson on health, pointed out that we lacked a particular machine that would be of great use, not just for the pandemic, but generally. And he stood up and he made a suggestion in Parliament. I took it and we went back and we now have the machine based upon his recommendation. And that's how we should operate as a people. We should benefit from everyone's ideas. And the extension of that is that when projects are started, even by another administration, we shouldn't look to just scrap them. Because how I see it is that each administration should be a step on the other. So the objective isn't to destroy what others have done, but to build on what others have done. It makes your job easier to reach the top. Because when you have to start from scratch, granted, there are some things that might not fit within the policy framework and so forth, but not all is bad. And you take what you can and you build on it. So in this regard, my understanding is that this project started, not this project specifically, but the Disaster Vulnerability Reduction Project started in 2014 as part of the mandate for social investment, and with the increased understanding that climate change is an imminent risk to our development, and therefore we must make our social investments to build resilience. And this is what we're doing, and this administration has continued on that pathway, and I am sure that any administration that is to come will have the benefit of this. So the next administration will not have to worry about this fire station. They can go on to something else, right? Yes, and that's what I mean, Minister Montague, that I, having done this, can go on to something else. So, this fire station is part of the government's strategy of building resilience. And I'm going to go a little bit deeper into this business of building resilience. How does the fire brigade help in building resilience? How does this building help in resilience building? Now, I understand that this building will have, or has, an administrative block. It has dormitories. I suspect you have dormitories for male and female. Yes, your assistant commissioner has pointed that out. It has a conference room facility. It has a medical emergency room. And it will house approximately 80 firefighters, maybe not all at once on shift, but it can accommodate 80 firefighters. Of course, we are in the bay that will hold the equipment and the trucks. So it is a well-built facility that will serve this community for years to come adequately. So we are expecting that with this new facility, the morale of our firefighters will be improved, their capabilities to respond will improve, the relationship between the firefighting services and the community will improve, and the entire township, parish capital, will feel a renewed sense that Jamaica is paying attention to their needs. And I hope that that is indeed the case. The project itself continues its investments. The project will come to an end, and the government undoubtedly will go on to other engagements with the World Bank. But I want to make an announcement here that there will be another significant investment in this parish. This time, it will be in the township of Annato Bay, on the coastal area of Annato Bay. It is the coastal protection of the Annato Bay area. Annato Bay is a town that I have a special place in my heart for. I love that coastal town. It's a small, closely knit town that has the potential, I believe, to be a tourism gem. But it is being dragged down by the usual maladies that affect small townships. And indeed, it is being affected also by urban drift, and it is being limited by its infrastructure. That very small road around which everything centers is a limiting factor for the development of the town. Coastal erosion is a limiting factor for the development of the town, and its low-lying nature the backflow of water in its drains is another limiting factor for its development. So this new project will help to solve a part of the challenge, which will be the revetment works, which will protect it from storm surges and devastating wave actions. It will also, I'm sure, help with the drainage in the town. And so this project will begin, when is it slated? In June of this year. So this parish is getting some serious attention. Additionally, the minister whispered to me that he has in his budget $70 million for the upgrade of the fire station that is in that area in Anato Bay. And we have identified a path for a bypass road for Anato Bay. And we intend to start that process of developing that bypass road this year as well. So we're spending some time on the parish. The last time I opened or officially handed over a fire station, we were doing so in St. Thomas. And I was explaining to the audience gathered, pretty much like this audience, the strategy of the government in rural development. The parish of St. Thomas is oftentimes considered the forgotten parish. And there's a lot of history there as to why St. Thomas has developed or not developed in the way it has. And we're trying to correct centuries of injustice to the parish. The people there, by virtue of the discomfort that they are now experiencing because of the development of the road, the people there tend to feel that even further injustice is being done to them by virtue of the road. And I ask them with great humility to pardon the progress that is taking place. That we are going to be, well, we are working as quickly as we can to have the road works finished. So the year and a half of this location will yield another 50 years of comfort for the people in that parish. And it will open up new vistas, new avenues, new opportunities for development in that parish. Now, as I drove here, coming from Kingston through Stony Hill, and I felt every pothole on the road. My vehicles are worn by now. They go everywhere. Every Friday I'm out somewhere, every Thursday. So even more, the shocks have worn. So I feel every pothole. So I quite understand. And as I'm driving through, people are waving. They see the motorcade, they see the flag, so they know it's the Prime Minister in the car. So they are waving, and then they do like this. So the road coming in. It's not in my script, but I'm sufficiently briefed on it. So we did make some investments in repairing a part of the road. It is a treacherous area to work in because of the soil type. And what it would require to do the entire stretch, to build it in such a way that you guard against all the potential risks of slippage, both from the hillside and to the riverside, would be a massive expenditure. So what we're now doing is trying to identify a new path, because it may be that we have to build an entirely new stretch of road to connect coming from Stony Hill in using the same maybe direction, same pathway, but not the same alignment. So we may have to do some changes there. So yes, we are doing patching on the road now. As I was coming, we encountered some delays because there are crews on the road patching. But no amount of patching can repair that road or give it a guarantee of long-term service. The road has outlived its useful life. That is just the reality. So we are examining alternatives as to how we can solve it. In other words, the same kind of investment that we have made on the South Coast Highway Improvement Project, which is moving from Harborview all the way around to Port Antonio, we will have to make in future budgets a similar investment coming from Stone Hill all the way here. So we will try to ameliorate the conditions as much as we can, but I ask Jamaicans to appreciate that some of the challenges that we face cannot be solved overnight. All right, those roads were built 80 years ago. Some of them, well, none of them were built to the standards that we expect now. When they were built, no one thought that they would be carrying the volume of traffic that they were carrying. Those were tracks that were traversed by donkey carts. So they were never built with the width necessary to carry modern traffic, or with the sub-base and the revetments and retaining walls that are necessary. So those roads technically don't meet the standard today to carry the volume and type of traffic that we expect of them. So we will have to make new investments in those roads, which is what you are seeing happening now on the South Coast Highway Improvement Project, where we're not just building a road, we're putting in infrastructure for water, we're putting in infrastructure for internet, for fiber optics. In addition to that, you see the massive retaining walls that are built, the massive drains that are built, and those things take time to be done properly. So the same level of investment will have to be made along this corridor. So I'm saying to Jamaicans, again, we understand the complaints. We are not insensitive to it. We will take short-term action to ameliorate, to patch, but that is not the solution. The solution has to be an entirely different road, probably on an entirely new alignment. So in my budget presentation, I will speak some more to how we intend to treat with that. But the bigger point that I wanted to make to the audience is that some of you may recall the history behind the establishment of town capitals. And what was the idea of the colonial powers in dividing the country into parishes and then establishing parish capitals as small townships? The idea was to ensure that we had a civil bureaucracy that is very close to the people. So you divide the country into governance units, and you put a representation of the state in the governance unit, and you call that your parish capital, and that is where your local governance would reside, that would deal with the local issues that affect people. Over time, we have kind of lost that sense that every parish has a form of government and governance in it. We have not just lost it by virtue of the effectiveness of the parish councils, but the populations have grown way past the carrying capacity of the physical infrastructure and representation of the governance systems in the town. So, for example, some of these towns are one-road towns, one road through. The volume of traffic going through it creates chaos. That chaos creates a disorder which leads to a breakdown in the authority of, for example, the parish councils to maintain order in the market, order with parking. But it's not just the parish council. It's very difficult to expect the police to maintain order in some of these towns given the congested and insufficient facilities that exist. I recall seeing a policeman trying to explain to angry taximen why they can't park in a particular place. That's not the job of the policeman, really, but he did a very good job. And as I watched it, I couldn't help but reflecting on, these towns were built hundreds of years ago when they weren't even thinking that in the proper design of a town, you have to have space and parking for public transportation. Now, we are the ones occupying Jamaica now. And we cannot continue to just merely depend on the infrastructure that was built by our colonial masters decades and centuries ago. We now have to be deliberate and say some of the things that exist now, we're going to have to change them. We're going to have to build new towns. But we are trapped because people who own property and own land in the towns don't want to have any change. The moment you suggest it, you get resistance, which is natural. Whenever change is proposed, there is always resistance. But we have been very strategic in what we're doing. Strategy number one is to focus on building your primary road infrastructure, your critical roads, your highways, and connect the townships. It's number one. And you can see that being done right across Jamaica. Where townships are well established and traffic is moving through them, but not intended for them, then we build bypasses so that people have options not to congest towns. Where towns have significant populations or they have other strategic value, we make investments in new town centers. And that is what we are doing now. Our first test case of that is St. Thomas with the new Goodyear site, 25 acres of land. So we are building the new town center there. Work has begun and it's moving in earnest. And we're going to put all the critical civil bureaucracy services right there. So you will have the courts, you will have your parish council, you will have banks, you will have educational facilities, all that is needed to bring governance to a particular unit, demarcation within your country. So the parish of St. Thomas will have an excellent urban center that delivers all the services that it will need. And we are examining other areas where this needs to happen. We have identified lands for Falmouth, and that is under contemplation now. We're doing another pilot project. Can't really call it a pilot project because it's well underway, Bernard Lodge, which will be an entirely new town center for the new parish of Portmore. Yes, we are establishing that new parish. And we have started to look at Olaba, another town center that needs upgrading. And the one that is very close to my heart, but one that is going to be really challenging, Spanish Town. Spanish Town needs serious attention. This town capital is also under consideration. I'm not seeing any need to move, but need to protect from coastal threats and environmental threats that are here. And of course, for the parish of Hanover, Lucy is another urban town, parish capital, that needs serious attention. So it is the strategy of the government to make these kinds of investments. So here, don't believe that this is not a part of a broader, bigger picture of making Jamaica the place of choice to live, work, raise your families, and do business. That is what we're doing. Everything that we're doing is connected to a bigger plan. I don't always get the opportunity to explain it, but this is a good opportunity, so I've taken your attention to do so. All right, now, I want to join you, Commissioner, in paying my respects to your young firefighter who died in the line of duty. He would be only the second firefighter to have died in the line of duty. I believe in 1996, you had a firefighter who died. He was 26 years old at the time, and he was fighting the fire at the Carib Theatre in Crossroads. And now, during the Christmas season, I was devastated to learn that this firefighter, in doing his job, was mowed down by reckless and careless driving, dangerous driving. And I want to join you in paying tribute and appealing to our road users to drive with care. The new Road Traffic Act comes into effect on the 1st of February. I don't believe that the message has reached to the persons who need to hear it. Those persons who are riding bikes without helmets, riding them recklessly, there are stiff and severe penalties that will be applied. I can't but give warning, because when the measures start to take effect, I don't want to hear anyone coming to say, we're fighting against poor people because the only bike them can afford, and we are fight against small man, and we are fight against youth because a bike them can afford. That kind of mentality cannot excuse, not just indiscipline. I mean, the indiscipline is one, but the cost to the country when they take up a bed and deprive somebody who needs treatment and is equally entitled to that bed. Because of their carelessness and recklessness, they put pressure on our health system. And we all suffer as a result of that. I have no problem with anyone who wants to ride a bike. But ride the bike safely. Ride it with your helmet. And ride it according to the rules of the road. I visited Rwanda for the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. And I can't help but saying here, the Rwandans are no different from us. They look just like us. They have development challenges just like us. But I never see one Rwandan. And by the way, if you think bike taxi is a thing here, the common mode and preferred mode of transportation is the bike taxi in Kigali. And if you think we have bike here, check Rwanda. They may have probably 10 times the number of bikes we have here. And I have never seen it by the time I was being driven around. the little youngsters riding their bikes or their little scooter. First of all, you don't even hear them. And it would be a puzzle to them why anybody would want to ride a bike where they can't hear anything else and only smoke coming out of the muffler. And no matter how much noise it's making, it's not going any faster. They would look at them and say, why are you so stupid? All of them had on proper helmets and proper gears, including their pillions. But somehow we have just gotten it in our head that it is cool to ride the bike without the helmet and without proper gears and to ride like a mad person on the road. I want those youngsters and those people who do that to realize that the society is not prepared to tolerate that anymore. There was a time when that kind of argument about this poor man thing would have a certain sympathy. But it has reached a level now where the average person in Jamaica, the poor person in Jamaica, realize that that behavior is detrimental to me. And they are now expecting that the government must take action. That's the nature of a democracy. Governments oftentimes have to act with the support of the people. You have to bring the people with you to act. And I feel that the people are sufficiently now convinced of the need for public order. Whether you're rich or poor, order is in everyone's best interest. So we are going to go full force to get order. As I have said it here, I'm saying it again, I'm giving enough warning. Public order will be the name of the game for 2023. Now, the Jamaica Fire Brigade is a paramilitary organization. It is a uniformed group. And part of the tradition of uniformed groups is that they usually have a band. I was guest of the Prime Minister of Trinidad during their independence celebration, and their fire brigade featured quite prominently in playing at one of their national events. And I reflected that I've never seen our fire brigade play at a national event. And so I whispered to the minister and made a public inquiry of the commissioner, where is our band? And so I'm very happy today, and that was when I was in St. Thomas a few months ago, so I'm very happy today to see that the fire brigade band is on display. And I'm expecting that we will see them at more civic functions. Uniform groups are very important for public order and discipline in the society. Very, very important. You put somebody in a uniform that is associated with a group that is known for discipline, and immediately the impact around the others is for discipline, both for the demonstration effect and for the enforcement effect. Because, believe it or not, you are identified by your uniforms as role models. And we don't utilize the demonstration effect enough of our uniform groups. The Custos is here, so he understands exactly what I'm saying about the cadets. And so I'm making another inquiry. Does the fire brigade have a cadet corps? You will have one in a month's time. Right, Minister? And that is part of a bigger strategy. A few years ago, we launched the HOPE program. The HOPE program, and again, we give credit to Bobby Montague for inspiring the idea of the HOPE program: housing, opportunity, production, employment. Right? We have done fairly well on the housing part. You are seeing us dealing with social housing, and today we'll be doing an indigent house as well. We're giving many opportunities through DBJ and other entities in Jamaica, giving young entrepreneurs opportunities to produce. And we're doing very well with employment. Jamaica has the lowest unemployment rate in our history presently. A part of the employment strategy was youth engagement, where we get unattached youngsters to be paired with a public sector entity. So we, under the HOPE program for youth engagement, we had youngsters being employed on an apprenticeship, mentorship basis within entities in government. At one point in time, we had up to 26,000 youngsters engaged in some form of activity under this program. We intend to intensify this, resuscitate the program. We had to slow down because of COVID, because of course, if you're working from home, the kind of supervision you would give to unattached youth just wouldn't be possible. So the program faltered for a bit. But we intend to resuscitate the program. And we are now going to ask the Jamaica Fire Brigade to field a cadet corps, a service corps for young unattached Jamaicans to participate. The Fire Brigade is not just about fighting fires. That's their core function. But it's also about general disaster response. It's about dealing with environmental threats and disasters that may occur, bushfires, landslides. It's part of what you call the civil defense of the country. You may have a flood, and it is the young men in the communities who have to jump around together and save lives. In other countries, your fire brigade is a voluntary organization where people in their local township, they get training. There is a standing fire brigade, but maybe one or two full-time persons. But the real personnel are volunteers. They come in once a day or a few hours every day, and they get their training, they get their certification, and that is your civil response to disasters or emergencies. They are your environmental protection officers. They are the ones who collect data on rainfall and inform the relevant agencies. They are the ones who will give you early warning signs of a bushfire imminent. Or, in other words, you have enough under your jurisdiction that you could train up in a kind of volunteer corps youngsters who can become a part of your civil defense function. So we'll talk a little bit more about a cadet corps for the Jamaica Fire Brigade. That would make this magnificent building even more functional and useful to the people of the parish. Now, there's a reason why I'm saying that we're going to be utilizing our uniform groups much more. And that is because not just that we have these climate change threats that we have to pay attention to, where we will need to have a certain residual level of skills in every community to respond, whether it is to rescue people from flooding or landslides or fires or so forth. But we have about 300,000 youngsters who are unattached. Now I want you to walk with me a little bit. At 6% unemployment, if you look in the papers on a Sunday and you see the number of jobs being advertised, and you talk to employers who will tell you, I cannot find work. I haven't said it too much publicly because when I said it first, it's as if the sky fell on me. But employers are coming to me constantly saying, we may have to import labor. At 6%, you're slowly heading into full employment. But to the average Jamaican listening to that, they see the youngster on the street corner digging a hole in his hand middle. And to reconcile that there are jobs there But these youngsters can't get them. Why they can't get them? Because they have no education, they have no skills. It's difficult to train them immediately because you need a job right now. So what do we need to do? Before we embark upon any import of labor, we must engage those 300,000 unattached youngsters. Now that 300,000, imagine it as a stock, meaning that they are there. But it is not the same 300,000 every year. Why? Because the schools are producing about 10 to 15,000 who join the ranks every year of the unattached. So strategy number one is to improve the education system to prevent this renewal of unattachment. Strategy number two is to engage those who are currently unattached. And we have to get them into programs like our cadet programs, our social programs. We have to engage them because at that age and stage in their life, you want to give them the basic education to make them trainable, but you also have to change their mindset. Because the biggest problem with the unattached youngsters is their mindset, their culture and behavior. And uniform groups have far more capabilities in getting mindset change. And so we are going to be engaging even more with our uniform groups to help us to get that mindset change in that 300,000. Because now, it is not just that they are going to be involved in crime, it is now an economic imperative to get them attached to something because we need their labor to help the economy to grow. It is now it's not just the social imperative because they are likely to become criminals. No, we have an economic imperative. We need their labor. We need them to become masons. We need them to become painters, tilers. But we also need them to become programmers, coders, data scientists. We need them to become nurses to replace the ones that are leaving. We need them to become teachers to replace the ones that are leaving. And we need them to become doctors and lawyers too. But you notice I'm not emphasizing that. Because believe me, in today's world, a good mason and plumber and data technician get more pay than lawyer and doctor. Many people don't know that. The nature of the economy has changed. So I thought I would share that with you. And so I've made some announcements. So the press people tell me that I talk too long and it's hard for them to go back and see everything that I have said. So I must give a summary. I see they laughing here. I must give a summary of what I said so that it's easier for them when they get back to the station to edit. So announcement number one is that the Disaster Vulnerability Reduction Program, the DVRP, under the management of JSIF and in partnership with the World Bank and the Ministry of Local Government, will be carrying out another major project, this time in the Anata Bay coastal area, to do revetment work and improve drainage in the area. And that program will start in June of this year. The Ministry of Local Government will also be making a capital investment in the station, the fire station that exists presently in Anata Bay. And that is a $70 million investment to upgrade the station. This is part of our strategic development of our towns and urban areas within rural parishes. The government is presently considering a new alignment for the what's the name of that road you call it there? The Junction Road. Yes, that is the connection between coming from St. Andrew through Stony Hill to get to St. Mary, that Junction Road. We're presently contemplating a new alignment of the road, and we hope to be able to come to the nation very soon to say exactly how that will be done. The government is seriously now contemplating the resuscitation of the youth engagement aspect of the HOPE program, and I have just given directives to the Minister of Local Government for the Jamaica Fire Brigade to establish a youth service corps and a cadet for the Jamaica Fire Brigade. So those would be the main highlights of the presentation. I hope you got that. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
I won't take a lot of time to do closing remarks, just to indicate that while the touring party goes through, the JP band will play for us. Members of the audience may remain seated. Andrea? Okay, Mr. Swady.
Yeah, man.
Richie, you have enough space? Excuse me, can you step aside, please? You good? Okay. Ready? All eyes here, please. Sorry, everybody, just have a step back. You good now? Watch your head, boss. Watch your head, watch your head. Ready? All eyes this way, please. Back up, Richie, back up. That's very wide, sir. I really like it. You good? You good, Yomo? Yes, sir, we're good. Here we start.
Clear, go for the next side. Go for sit up.
Jazz cameraman again. I heard 6 feet.
What pieces are
Mr. Sweeney. Mr. Sweeney. Both
Gentlemen, all the cameras are here, so you cannot stand here. Yeah, mega move.
With the lady back is turned to us.
Sorry, so if everybody back there is turning to us, we won't be able to capture it. So can everybody come around, please, and just turn this way? All the cameras are on this side.
Come back a little bit.
You ready?
Go on that side. Go on that side.
That's good? Good, no?
Yeah.
All right, let's, after 3, 1, 2, 3.
There you go.
So Prime Minister is to read.
All right. The Jamaica Fire Brigade, Port Maria Fire Station, officially opened by yours truly, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, OMPC, MP, and all other veterans. Prime Minister of Jamaica, January 13, 2023.
Jamaica Fire Brigade, Port Maria, Station St. Mary, funded by the government of Jamaica, through a loan agreement with the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, the World Bank, implemented by the Jamaica Social Investment Fund, Investment for Community Development, ISO 14-001-2015, certified under the Disaster Vulnerability Reduction Project (DVRP), partnership with the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, completed September 2022.
All right, good.
Everybody else is line for going on the side.
Yes, sir.
No, maybe it's better to stay there.
Everybody else can flank the 2 sides.
Yeah. Everybody is flank the 2 sides. Yeah.
Everybody else can flank the 2
Flank the 2 sides.
Lock in the camera.
Lock in the camera. Everybody else, come camera. Camera over. Come around.
He's right here.
Andrew, you need to come up with some lady.
Come around some more, please. Come around.
We're going to do a short dedication.
Okay.
Yes, as we dedicated this building. Sorry. Our loving and merciful God in heaven, we present this wonderful edifice to you, Lord. As we present it to you, that we'll take care of it and that we will serve the community well. Bless every hand that is a part of it. And we ask that we'll take care of it and you'll continue to bless it. Send angels to every window and doors to keep us all safe. Cameras won't be able to capture you if you stand up right here. So just come around some more.
Ready? After 3, 3.
You get it?
So better when you're out there and put the lens to the hallway instead of this.
Yeah, that me I said.
Very nice. Lovely. And most of all, your condition. Very good.
I want to introduce to you Assistant Sue Linton from the Port Maria Fire Station.
Very nice.
And to describe the building and how it will be utilized. So we start.
Duty room?
Yes.
Clear duty room.
That's the duty room. Brain of the station, everything happens right there.
Are you want to close the shutters? Where are you? Glass that you have is tinted, but in RJ, they have the special glass.
No, they're not. No, they're not, sir. I don't know.
Shatterproof glass.
They're not, sir.
You need some. I'll put the film on it.
Sorry. Because them now match out them shot, brother. You just have to shoot up in a man cave. What are you showing?
OCM, come now, man.
Richard, monitor GIS.
So this is where you do your public education. So tell us a little bit more about what the fire prevention department does. Ms. Bishop.
So my name is Latoya Bishop. The fire prevention department is the public relations department of the Jamaica Fire Brigade. So this is what we do is community intervention, public information. We give the information to the public relating to fire and how to minimize the loss of life and damage to the public.
So you go to schools?
If we go to schools,
Workplaces might invite you?
Businesses, whichever, communities, we are in the community on a day-to-day basis.
So you help people to develop a fire plan?
Right.
To properly identify their exits, assembly areas,
right.
and so forth?
Yes.
And help to conduct fire
drills.
drills?
Emergency evacuation drills, earthquake drills.
Very good. And how many of these you do in a month?
Alright, so each month we are mandated to do 12 per month. Earthquake drills, fire drills.
So you
But
do this right through the
sensitization,
fire?
we do it right throughout the month. It doesn't have a limit.
Okay. Okay. So,
Thank you, sir.
Catch it this one. Catch it this one.
medical resource. But in Jamaica, how is it treated? Is it a part of local government, part of the fire brigade? How is it treated?
It's also part of the fire brigade. Separate and apart from operations.
So Prime Minister, if I may.
Yeah,
if I may. So it's a partnership between the fire brigade and the Ministerial.
Yes.
So they are the ones who provide supervision in terms of standards.
You want to just come forward?
Yes.
It's a very important information that people,
so
Jamaican people want to
in
hear.
terms of the emergency medical
Start at the
service,
beginning.
Right. In terms of the emergency medical service, it's a partnership between the Jamaica Fire Brigade and the Ministry of Health. Started in 1996 as a pilot project, and it still continues every. Whether it's motor vehicle accidents, trauma, medical,
issues such as persons suffering from maybe diabetic shock and all of those things. We respond to all of those.
So you're saying to me that the Jamaica Fire Brigade has persons who are trained as paramedics, as they call it?
Yes, so we have paramedics and we have what is referred to as emergency medical technicians. So they are a level below paramedics.
So even the paramedic is an EMT, but there are different levels. So the basic one is called an EMT basic, then the intermediate, which is called the advanced, is also an EMT. The EMTP is the paramedic. So the paramedic is still an EMT.
So we are building out that capability.